Welcome, everyone, to this amazing, blessed day of 1/11, Wednesday, January 11th, on this episode of the Ascension Hour with Reverend HoniB and her incredible guest. And today is truly a magnificent guest of my heart, of my soul, a dear sacred galactic brother from many, many lifetimes that is here to share his profound wisdom with us today on his ascension journey. So help me welcome beautiful Reverend Paul Luftenegger. Welcome, 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 sacred brother.
Thank you so much to you and everyone joining. Thank you so very much.
So happy to have you here. And as usual, before we start, because a lot of incredible wisdom will be shared, we're going to go ahead and start first with the prayers around this beautiful amazingness. It's just grounding in the alignment. So most of the audience knows this, and let's just remind you, let's go ahead and just uncross our legs, sit back and put our feet flat on the floor. And let us close our eyes as we place our hands in our heart. And let us take a deep, gentle, slow breath into our heart and hold that breath as we connect with that sacred flame of light inside in its crystalline diamond presence, and feel the connection in that source light inside our heart. And breathe it nice outward through the mouth. Let us take another deep breath from this horizontal plane, nice and slow, deep into the center of that gracious, amazing, dazzling, golden light in our heart. As we hold the breath, I ask you to drop your consciousness downward through your lower chakras, passing through your earth star chakra, all the way down to the center of Gaia in her crystalline diamond heart, and make that connection from your heart to her heart and release your breath. And on this next in breath, draw a deeper, slower, deep in breath from this horizontal plane all the way into the center of your golden diamond crystalline heart. As you connect with that pure flame inside, I want you to draw your attention upwards through your upper chakras, pass through your soul star chakra, all the way up through all your bodies, passing the great central sun and connecting all the way to the heart of mighty I Am presence, the source of all creation, to its crystalline heart, and release your breath upward. And then this next in-breath, draw the breath from this horizontal plane one more time, all the way into the center of your heart. As you connect with this horizontal plane and this vertical plane, as you centralize in that central axis from the love inside your diamond crystalline heart that is connected to above and below, I want you to breathe out from inside all the way out to your outer edge of your spiritual body. So you are completely enclosed and encapsulated in this dazzling ball of light. Release it through your breath. Now we ask this outer ball of light that all of us are encapsulated in to be fully luminous in that pure Christ light, so that anything that is less than the divine perfection of God's diamond heart may not interact in any which way. So only the purest is coming in through this portal of light and blessing us all in its true wisdom and light. And so be it, as we give so much thanks that this is done according to God's holy will and the support of the entire team of light that are blessing us in this endeavor in this now. And so it is as we begin. Thank you so much, my dear, sacred, beautiful brother, Reverend Paul. I so appreciate you and welcome you with all my heart today on a very special week that is also your incredible solar return on Wednesday. What a blessing it is that you get to share your golden wisdom on your walk of ascension with our audience today. And I'm going to dive right in because we go on a galactic speed right here. And I want to take you to the core of right now, in this golden now, in this present, with this journey that you have walked, and you're sitting with such enriched truth, with those golden nuggets. Like, where are you in your ascension walk in this moment of life today? Where are you?
Well, I first of all just want to say thank you for being you here now, and I thank everyone that's joining in this beautiful, radiant moment of life and living it and trusting it and having faith in it and knowing in it that the inside is the most important part of this journey. So I think that, you've reminded me, we're in a brand new, fresh new year. The first few weeks of this year, I always love the beginning of this year because it's the fresh start to start again, to birth again, to rise again. So I think that it's a reminder to all of us that we are constantly rising again. Every day is a fresh day, no mistakes. It's an opportunity every day to live. The new year, the first month, it's a new beginning. So I think that that's where I'm at in my time. And I'm not going to say that there's no challenges. I don't want to placate that. We're living in a time where we're the ones to beam the divine light of creation in co-creation. So and I think we're kind of getting there. I think the last 3 years have it's been like the pulling of a bow back to leap us forward. So 2023, I feel like we're in a totally new position in the stars. I think the energy is so much cleaner. And I know the power that we yield, and it's powerful. And I'm here to remind everybody of the power that you yield. And together with our power united, we are very powerful. So
Yes.
we are the light in the way with the Creator.
Oh, to that. It does absolutely feel like a whole new octave of light that as a family of light we've entered in, and it's like a whole new playground, and it doesn't feel like it has that suffering energy in it. It seems like we've cleaned templates so much. We've cleaned our literally like plates, and now we're ready for all this. Today in my prayer, I was singing, something happy is happening today. Another something happy is happening today. This contains something happy is going to happen again today. And it just really feels like that. And I wanted to ask you, Paul, because just like the rest of us, Reverend Paul, this journey of ascension has been like this, has been nothing short than this. And it feels like we just entered now like this. It's like we're tasting the grace, like, wow, this is fantastic after being
Well said.
tumbled around so much. So, oh, so what would you like to share about that with our audience?
Well, first of all, I'm a galactic brother. I think that you're a galactic sister. I know it in my heart, and I'm guessing we're in a galactic community of.
Uh-huh. So open up wide, whatever you like to share.
Let's just begin with the fact that we're in infinity here, in the genius of creation, beaming with this divinity. So, I think just to speak to that, like you had said, it has been really a tumultuous, sort of rocky road to get to here, and we've been prepared for decades and decades and millennia for these times that are very much predicted. They were told to us by sages and saints for thousands of years, and we're here, and we got here, which means that we're the ones to be here now, and how exciting that is. So to embrace that, I think, is the message. And I know that you, Reverend HoniB, I love your name. I love the honeybee. It's a symbol for me of pollination. And I believe, on that note, let's just talk about that, pollination. So what is pollination? It's when we take our pure essence and we share that pure essence with another being of light, and we pollinate each other with the love and the light that is part of who we are and why we came. So in that galactic space of beauty, in this garden of, in my opinion, of essentially creation and co-creation, we are creating a totally new world. And so you can start to see the glimmer of heaven coming back to you, and that's that beautiful grace that you're talking about. And I know that we're going to see more of it as truth rises, and as we, someone recently, George Lewis is a new friend of mine, a brother, but he was talking about the pyramids. What we're doing is we're sort of just making it just calm down, and we're actually becoming whole and round. And this is sort of the vision that I have. And it started in 2021, where I was showing that we're round, no end and no beginning, and that beautiful way that the light can emanate out from within us in a round orb around us. And that's sort of what Ascension is for me right now. And I think to remember that you are, that beautiful eternal light of pure essence that is, the divine gift forever. And we get to live it right here, and we know it. We don't have amnesia on it anymore. The veil is thinning or even non-existent.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Reverend Paul, for that. There is this art, as many of us that are coming into these wonderful garments, the art that we're bringing through this ascension journey, what is the art of patience, art of understanding, art of grace, there's so many different arts. And through this tumultuous ride, it has birthed many, many arts that's become online. And it's so incredible, because there's this thing when we talk about embodiment. So the last 12 guests of mine, and because we are all connecting in the same space of light, all of them are called in alchemizing Ascension. So for us, Michael and I are called Ascension alchemists. It's to alchemize Ascension to truly embodiment, because there's one thing to have the consciousness, and my goddess, goodness, God, there is a whole nother thing to actually walk it, embodiment, where you're literally bringing that essence of that sparkle and light through the arts that have become online inside into the everyday encounter. And that is, I'm finding that it's like I'm looking at it as a whole new lens, and very actually excited about it, and not wanting to leave the body, because most of us have been wanting to leave the body for so many years. Tell me, is that what you're also experiencing?
Yeah, so I think, beautifully said. Thank you for just putting it that way, using those words. And I think, just to remind everybody too that, words have power. And the reason why words have power is because we are powerful. So when
Yes,
you put your words out, they create, things. So to use them responsibly. And the way you just used your words, I felt everything because we are a receiver of understanding. And when we communicate, the inside of me and the inside of you become one in that alchemy. And
yes,
it's very beautiful. So I think, just being out in the world right now, I think the thing that I've noticed, and I notice it's a refreshing time for me. So I sort of take January as sort of like a nourishment time for me, and I really give myself permission to love myself in a
yeah,
way that I sometimes in service, I really give a lot, and that's great. But I find for me, January is sort of a cocooning of letting the universe sort of reset me with who shows up. You showed up for January, and we talked last year to set this moment up. I chose it with you, and I loved that it was the first 2 weeks in January. So I think when I'm out in the world right now, I'm noticing that people are just sort of, it's almost like they're sort of also in that same space of renewal, rejuvenation. Yeah. And I really feel like we're rejuvenating everything in our cells. Our DNA is like vibrating differently, and the diamond light codes of the double helix are just beaming and just ready to sort of do new life, you know?
yes,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely. And it's so fantastic, and thank you for that. And I feel that um within the presence of the essence, as these are becoming more online, and through the encounters that um would shake certain things up, so that we're given the opportunity to bring in that alchemized embodiment, with its love being the step that is taken to sort of like hover over it, and allow it to surrender to the beloved, so that it too resurrects, and it resurrects out of our field. It's like another one that kind of vibrates out, it resurrects again, and then there's more of the ray of light within expands out, and there's that lifted energy. And whether it is like at a store where this interaction is taking place, are you noticing, like, with all these little things within a day, that it's like, oh wow, like seeing the mechanics of it actually playing, like right before your very eyes, the true mechanics of it, but so present and so conscious in front of you that you're interacting, whereas before it would have been interpreted more as a stress response. Are you experiencing that?
Yeah, I've been experiencing that for quite a while. And I think you have too, but I would say that, just recently, so I just want to speak to sort of where I'm at because everybody's
Yeah.
sort of at different places, but I do
Yes.
think we're collectively, so that 12-12-12 Mayan timeline
Yeah.
and calendar is sort of exactly an ascension cycle later. So we're
Mhm.
11 years now that we've had that moment into this now. So, as an ascension guide, as an
Yeah.
ascension sort of coach in many ways, to be the highest self and manifest,
Yes.
to hold that grounded energy now with understanding and what happens when you ground it. So I was just recently invited, my year ended being invited to India to meet the Dalai Lama, right?
That's
Like, I mean,
that's right.
so to answer your question, I mean, my work around the world, my music, and I say this with absolute humility because it's all in service to the heart and the soul for God.
Yeah.
But somehow I was invited, last year to fly to India to have tea with the
Mhm.
Dalai Lama. And I did that. And I wasn't attached to the outcome if it wasn't meant to be, but it
Mhm.
happened.
Yeah.
And to answer your question, I had a moment where it's like heaven and all that I have seen in my visions became one.
Yeah.
And I keep having these we're creators to create and co-create right now. So I think if we keep the pace and just the slow and steady spiritual practice, every day, what happens is heaven starts to show up and show up. And what's happening is these massive bursts of creation are going to be witnessed by all of us. And you're doing it, I'm doing it, many of our circles
Yeah.
around the world. And what's happening is I think this old world of all these systems are starting to basically dissolve and crumble. And they're going to basically just shrink away as this new world starts to just constantly really birth. And that's the vision I've had for a very long time. But I think we're at that precipice of that experience.
Yeah.
So here
And
we are.
two things you mentioned, Reverend Paul, which was important. One, that old world dissolving. Um, would you agree that world dissolving is dissolving within us?
Yeah.
That we're getting to see it, that's dissolving on the outside. As the more we are meeting these vibrations that have been stored in our photonic bodies, like they show up so we can again, through the grace of love it versus push it away, shove it, or run away from it. The more we're loving it, it's opening it up. And my question what would you say to our audience? What is the key factor in that where the heaven and the heavenly realm, it's not that it's accessible to everyone. You and I know this, but what is that key factor in your opinion that allows the alchemization of anchored in this plane and become available, all the goods available, so it's no longer a shock? Of course, it's like it doesn't become a big deal that yes, I'll meet with Dalai Lama. It's not in separation anymore. But what would you say is that key factor that allowed it?
So there's many things, but the three things that come to my heart immediately to say, and the first was, and I'll share the first one, is that really, okay, so your heart is a gate to heaven.
Mhm.
So, however you want to open your heart, it is the core of our being. Cœur in French,
Yeah.
core. It's the
Mhm.
core of us. So we have to sort of go to the center of our being, and it's that space that's holy that isn't for anyone else. It's yours, your pilot light, whatever it is. But you have to open your heart, and you have to open it so wide that it can be its full spectrum of light, its full spectrum of love. And it's the you have to choose it, and the only person that has the master key is you.
That's
And
right.
I was showing this, and I remembered it more so in 2011 in my own ascension, when I sort of surrendered, if you will, and I opened up my lock. My master key is mine, master key is yours. You open it, the gate of heaven is your responsibility. And when you open it, it doesn't mean it's easy, but what it means is it's your responsibility now. And once that opens, if you want to experience heaven on earth, once it's opened and you listen to your heart and not your fearful mind, the cosmic mind and the heart come together. And when that happens, this inertia starts to really lock in place in the gear systems of creation. And what happens is you start going around the gears of the sun, the moon, the stars, the planetary alignments, and it all starts flooding in to build what is your promise. And your promise is creation of heaven on earth.
Mhm.
And we are living that right now. And you either know this or you don't. There's two worlds going on right now, really only two. There's 8 billion actually, but there's only really two master worlds, the world of fear and the world of love. And love is the world of freedom.
Yeah.
We beam freedom, and that is our right, our birthright. And before I came here today, I asked God sort of what you wanted me to share, God. What did you want me to bring in? Our ancestors are with us always. Our galactic brothers and sisters of divine love and light are with us always. And to not think you can do this alone. This is not a lone solo mission. This is a co-creation mission. So to allow God into you, to clean you, to open your heart every day, to wake up into God every day, and to allow God to sort of have God's way with you, whatever that is, to clean your mess up And I've been messy, so I say this, but
Yeah.
clean your mess up, what happens is you purify everything in you to be the heaven that you are and the peace that you are to beam the light of heaven on earth.
Mm. Oh, thank
Yeah.
you for that. This is, I love what you share about the key, that key of the heaven. I've had that direct experience when I got to see that key was literally handed to me and I opened it. And, and, and with that is the responsibility. So I really feel the key is given to every single person. There is, however, a quite distinct difference when the key is given and whether you actually have, there's something about somebody wanting, okay? There's another one where you actually have the will to be able to deliver, follow through. Because there's a lot of wanting and there's a lot that shows up, but does not mean the person is going to actually take that step in that devotion, in that discipline, in that determination. And the master key of it is love. And without you loving you, I found you cannot do this. It really requires you be in that flame of God's love and be literally burned into burn. That's why you get so hot when you talk to God, like that monologue every day. I always say, Reverend Paul, my first appointment of the day, I have divine appointment. First thing of the day is my appointment with God. So I get to sit and have a full conversation with everything, share about the day, everything. And it's like my first appointment. Everybody else has to wait. And this will never, ever wait. Michael certainly has to wait. First is my love is with God. And then everything else starts. But the key I learned, I feel like every time I have to be burned again, burned by that flame, the way it engulfs my heart and burns me from these like limitations of, so I move into this humility of, holy wow, what is this love? That this love is the master key that gives me the ability to follow through with no question. And it's pretty badass, I have to say. You
Yeah,
find it as well.
I love it just as a spiritual practice, what you just talked about. That's been my spiritual practice nonstop since my moment with God in 2011. And I just always like to remind people in my work, if I do, any sort of one-on-one sessions, you're speaking to something that's very important. I was showing two portals in the day before you go to bed and when you wake up in the morning. And they're very, very important moments for your soul because they're a way before you sort of like rest the body, rest the temple, and when you awaken the temple, much like an avatar, if you will. So your soul really comes in the morning, like it fills the body. So in the morning, before you wake up, to wake up to an alarm clock, it's not my suggestion at all. And I never do, actually. And what I think is very important is your body and rhythmic system starts to wake up from your soul. So ever since I sort of had this experience in 2011, I think it's important to just, like you talked about, just to bathe yourself and burn away and just nourish you with God in the morning. And when you do, messages come through. There are messages in the morning for you, and only you can receive them. So that two-way channel to God starts to flow in the morning, and really to open up to that in the morning, because it sets the course of the day. I say in the morning, I bless my first cup of water. I make coffee in the morning, but I bless my water with God every day. I fill my water with everything of love, peace, love, joy, happiness, prosperity. I find the diamond light in the water, the rainbow. I beam it, I bless it, and then I drink it. I think, your spiritual practice in the morning has to be really strong because it sets the day, and the universe and God can come through so beautifully once you do that. So I love that you shared that.
And do you also do this? So, for example, I have found, and I really share this, some may call it source, some may call it the great spirit, some may call it divine presence, whatever resonates with you. I have found like this supreme joy when I sit in this. And I then share, okay, I was like, okay, God, you're gonna come now. I want you to come into my spiritual body. I want you to, so that you can see what that's like. Come into my etheric body, look, check it out, check it out, check it out. I have a lot of fun. Like it's so much joy. Okay, come in my mental body. Look at all these thoughts, like all of these. I just want you to be a witness because you want to come in and look at these emotions. Look, these are floating this way, these are floating this. And here I want you enter and look how great the breath is in my lungs, and I go through like body parts. So I take God with me everywhere. Okay, we're gonna go to the right, we're gonna go to the we're gonna go for a walk now. I want you to experience being in my body. I want you to see through this, like the beautiful palm trees or the birds. So I have this incredible intimate relationship that I know you have. And that intimate relationship, a lot of people ask me, how do you have that level of intimacy? And I really found it's because I've allowed so much to burn off in that flame. When I come to the heart, it's like I cry so much because, like, shame sometimes has come up, embarrassment has come up, this or that has come up. And then that flame, that's so amazing. Like God's flame is so loving, but it's so powerful that it just burns it. And I just move into tears, and then I experience the joy, which is the opposite side of it. But in allowing every single day, allowing it to move through me, and it allows the communication, that direct, very friendly communication. Is like my best friend. And it's not outside, it's me with that greater me, having this incredible relationship. And man, it's allowed me to actually truly begin loving me. Whereas most of us, like I know you have, like not fully ever loving you, like the way we're intended to love, so we can love the journey, being in this borrowed garment, and then learning to really take care of this garment. This is the most incredible thing that God wants to do. It's work through. So then it kicks into this, okay, increased self-love, because it's for divine purpose.
Mm. That is beautiful how you shared that. I love how you integrated the just like the allowing God to come through even more. I could safely say I can do that more.
Yeah.
The intimacy is a very interesting. It's funny because I have visions as you do. We all have visions.
Yeah.
Visions are really where you see through to the future, and you're now in the moment is seeing a future you. And I've had this happen a lot in my life, but I never understood it before sort of answering my call from God, right? And so when we answer our call of our heart, it's our potential manifested, right? So I think what's really beautiful about the intimacy of God is that when I sing my songs, which are used around the world, and that's the part of me that I share the intimacy of God with, because that's really a moment between me and God, and I open that with the world.
Yeah.
But what's very interesting to me is when someone comes to me after I share a moment on a stage, like for Bruce Lipton recently in Copenhagen, Denmark. What was really interesting to me is how that intimacy of God, there was 3 people there with like chronic back pain that they have never, and it's sort of weird because they were telling me their problems before
Yeah.
I was sort of warming up, and they were sort of around. And it was interesting to me, and I just I said love to them, I said prayer for them. And what's really interesting, after those 2 days of being in that group with us, they came up to me afterwards and they were like, I don't know what happened, but I haven't had relief of my back pain for for decades. And these were older women, and they asked, one of them was crying, and what, I felt connected to God like never before. And I think, that intimacy, when we share it openly, because we haven't been given permissions, like in this old world that we've come from, to share God openly. And we've thinned the veil every time we do. We bring God up to thin the veil so it's non-existent. There's no separation from us and God. There's no division. So the more we witness in each other this expansion, God comes through to give and God is still descending on us fools.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So we are this beautiful remembering of God, and God is descending here for us to nourish life, and that is something to recognize, that you are a child of that.
Yeah.
And when you really embody that, that's the glow of the honeymoon, and everything's taken care of.
Yeah.
Um, and just like in the womb, you were provided everything you needed, we're still in the womb of God.
That's
So
right.
to allow that to nourish you and to have an intimacy with you and to give you what you need,
Yeah.
and that you deserve it.
Absolutely. And absolutely, Reverend Paul. Two things you mentioned that I want to just address with those three women. When they're in that presence, when we're in a group, when in a group, that presence is able to be shared easier. Sometimes individually, they may not be able to actually digest that. It can be uncomfortable, where there's certain things that are standing in the way of that, till it can transmute and transcend, so it can resurrect, and burn off, rising. And so with that, allows it. And for it, all it takes for a split of a second, when they get touched by that presence and align, boom, everything else moves literally out of the photonic body into the plasma body, and it just transcends. It's like the most natural, everyday living. That's not even a miracle anymore. It's the most natural state. There's no secret around it. It's just that fine-tunement for a split second, boom, that happens. The other part, I have a personal question to ask you. So Michael sees me sometimes. I'm in that moment, and I can't help myself. I start to think. I start thinking for God, and then next thing, but like as soon as I start thinking, but I feel it so much, I start like bawling and crying. I have not yet been able to like compose myself, because in a way I start shaking and crying. So like I can't, I wouldn't even be able to get through. And sometimes when Michael and I do the service, when we do the Mighty I Am presence, like I can start to see it's coming, and Michael's like, oh my gosh, here we go again. So he like stops it, because he sees I'm starting to like, because I feel it. So I feel like I'm about to explode from its love, and I'm crying because I don't even, what do you do? How do you handle that? How do you ground that? Like when you're singing, because I know I've heard you sing. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm expecting. How do you ground that so you can actually deliver the words, and while you're in it so deep, because it is powerful when Michael always cries the minute I start going into that place, because he's feeling it.
Well, it's a very interesting thing, because there's so many parts to it that I think I'm still figuring out how and what to do in those moments. And I think the thing that, I love that you shared it, because one of the things that you said earlier is that you get hot. So
Yeah.
there's like this, I mean, there are times where I
Like
have so
right now,
much
I'm sweaty talking to you.
comes through you that you actually have to just alone not respond to it when it's happening on a stage. So you'll see often, a lot of singers sweat profusely because they're bringing in so much energy. So when it's very interesting to me on stage, and I always see the stage as a portal, so it's a creating portal, and you have to respond and respect the stage, that you're bringing in all of this frequency and divine love. So what's beautiful is you actually just surrender to it. And when you do, what's funny is time and space stand still. Like I know sometimes I remember when I first started, it was sort of a joke, because I didn't really know what I was doing. And I felt like I had prepared and practiced and practiced and practiced. And I was so scared, so nervous to go on the stage, but I was ready. And I made it about, I surrendered to God. I knew what I was going to sing. And I just went out. And it was so funny, because I did this whole show. I don't really remember what happened, But what happened is, I remember because my husband at the end of it was behind the stage and he didn't know that I was, a performer when we first met,
Yeah.
or maybe like, I wouldn't even say a performer, but this divine sort of um, singer that I have always sort of known that I kind of am.
Yeah.
Um, and I remember running at this, off the stage, and he was standing there and he was like bawling in tears. And at the same time, he was like shocked I had done this thing for an audience. He'd never seen this me. So I went back and everybody was clapping and I didn't know what to do at the end of it. And all these people were just like not knowing what to do and I didn't know what to do. So I ran back and I remember I just remember like just like sort of being so awkward in myself. So I think what's beautiful is over the years I've learned that we ground more as we sort of, I think, accept ourselves for being who we are.
Yeah.
And I'm learning, I say I'm learning how to be me every day.
Yeah.
I'm remembering how to be my highest self every day. And it's a process because our old bodies are sort of shedding themselves.
Yes.
Like it's a new code every year of this
Yeah.
beautiful alchemy of my divine highest self in manifest. So the old me sort of is sort of awkward and funny. And the more I sort of embrace my highest self, I sort of learn how to be me.
Yeah. I love it. Oh,
Yeah.
I love what you share. I love it. And along the same note, I want to share with you because I know many individuals in the audience, there are times like they're sitting in that place, and I've had individuals share this with me, especially because the 3 years that Michael and I ran our Sacred Sunday Spiritual Service, we had the invocations, the prayers, and that. And there are times that, for example, I never prepare because my whole team has always asked me, do not prepare. We will speak through you. And I'm a transmedium, trans channeler on multiple levels, but there are times that I'm very aware, here we go, it comes. I have the way the words come in and the way the sound of it come in, the way it takes over, and it's much more grounded. And what I found, like, I could never write a song myself in this way, but somehow there's a moment that I get into that I can tell I am not in the way, and the way it comes, the words and the way it's truly praised, it's so perfect. I couldn't have even imagined it, but I know that it moved through me for my own self to see, to be like, holy wow, that's like possible. But if I go sit and do it, it's not, it's just, it's continuously, I got to get to this place. And so when I'm doing the prayer with God, it's that like my inner child is doing that. I move, like I get so giddy and cry, all of this. And then there's this moment that I get in this, and then the presence is so large, and the way the words and the voice of it comes out. It is just phenomenal to watch that. Watch it, but not remember what it was said until, like you said, afterwards, like, holy wow, that was just so perfect. And I kind of can't quite take credit for that, but wow, that was just like amazing to witness. It's like this kind of interesting, multidimensional, and the wonderment, the true enrichment of, I found this to be like jackpot. I found this to be real, like jackpots, when you get these moments of, holy wow, how much each of us contain within that master key that we open up, that wants to show itself, so we can be enchanted by what we already are, nothing created. Like, this is freaking amazing.
Yeah, and it's like it's interesting with you saying this because like so Louise Hay,
Yeah.
the thing that's very interesting to me all these years later, and for anyone that doesn't know my work, I'll just say quickly that my song was used, My Heart was used for her last birthday, and I'm friends with the woman that took care of her, and Louise Hay actually transitioned to my music, which is a pretty big deal for
Yeah.
little, right?
Yeah.
But what's interesting about Louise's work that I feel is really important right now is, and I used to sort of laugh, the old me used to laugh at this stuff, which is,
Yeah.
humility in its greatest
Yeah.
presence. But I used to laugh when I used to watch people, they used to make fun on Saturday Night Live of, Stuart Smalley, I think was his name. And I think it was based on Louise's character. I'm pretty sure. And it used to be this moment where this new age person would go in front of the mirror and say, I love you. I really, really love you. You're smart enough. You're kind enough. And they would make fun of that on Saturday Night Live. Now, what's very interesting to me all these years later, because that's how I was when I was a kid, when I witnessed it, that was going on when I was a teenager. And I used to laugh at it. But what's funny is that they mocked that so much on that show. But what's so true to my life now, and so many people that I know, when you go in front of the mirror, there is who is looking back at you. And if you just stop, forget about anything you've ever been told or anything you've ever seen. If you go in front of the mirror and you look into your eyes, your pupils, and you go inside them and you let the photonic light and the soul light and the energy of your aura go through your eyes down to your heart, and you pay attention to that from here, and you show up with God, ask God to come into that moment, recognize what happens. And that is the most powerful thing you can do as a human being, to see the reflection of your light literally in a mirror with God. And I don't care who you are on this planet, but there's nowhere to hide in that. And you will have a moment, if you truly center in your heart with your soul with God, that will be a moment for just you. And that's how I woke up. Louise knew it. She taught it all around the world. She sold 70 million copies of her one book, which is insane in sales. And it's just getting started, because we're going to start to experience God looking at us in this way now. And you better buckle up, because things are going to get really interesting now. That's what I think, anyways.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it so much. I just love, gosh, I love everything we're sharing. And I know the audience is just eating it all up, because it really is about this moment and this now. And within this moment, this now, as we slowly wrap up, Reverend Paul, my darling, let me know right now, this week is, of course, your solar return celebration, which is
It's number 46 for me in Earth years. I think it's so interesting to think of time and space. I've been around the sun, as of this year, I'm in my 46th year. And I love that I was in my mother's womb for 9 months. So I'm grateful to just share my birthday week with you in this way. So I thank you for honoring, I think, just a moment of divinity. So thank you. And to
absolutely.
everyone listening too, thank you so much.
Absolutely. In this celebration of you choosing to be embodied in this gorgeous suit that you are in and radiate that light, it's truly a wonderful, blessed gift for us. And as you self-nourish, cocoon in this month, what is coming up for you that you can share with our audience? Are you having any events, classes coming up so they can get in touch with you and they can experience your magnificence and your grace?
Yeah, so thank you for asking and thank you for sharing that. So there's a couple of things that I have going on. So I have a class that actually is starting. I wrote it down just so I don't forget, but Saturday, January the 21st, I'm holding an 8-week course with Louise Hay. So I'm a certified Louise Hay Heal Your Life teacher, which is loving yourself and healing your life is the message. And Louise's program was started actually in the early 80s.
Yep.
I'm very much, I feel like it chose me with Louise to teach this class, because it's about learning how to love yourself with affirmations. And this is about that heart space. So that's starting on January the 21st, and it goes till March the 11th. It's
So,
Saturdays from 10 a.m. until 12 p.m. noon. So every Saturday for 8 weeks. And that's going on. So if you want to do that, you can go to my website, which is Be Kindness, so BEE kindness.com.
and I'll
And
post that on the link here.
And also, you can email me at info@paulluftenegger.com with anything. Um, and then, aside from that, I've been actually asked to sing in the capital of Canada next month for the international sort of perspective and the national perspective of kindness from,
Mm,
and it's a governmental sort of on Capitol Hill. I don't know all the details, but I'm very excited about that because it's a moment for, I think, divine love. And I'm going to be singing to kids across the nation as the plan. So I'm really excited about that.
so good. So, so wonderful. We'll be definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And as we wrap up, do you feel to share a prayer? Do you feel to share a
Sure.
moment of your voice? Do you feel whatever you feel? I'll leave it up to you. And yeah, you let us.
I wanted to just, one thing that came to me. So I always have a shower and clean myself before coming on to an
Yeah.
event. I like to wash in the water.
Yes.
I love water. So I want to just sort of take a moment to honor the water that you're made of. You know, it's very important. So I feel Dr. Masaru Emoto with me often. There's a consciousness in our water. So just to give yourself a moment to honor the water that you're made of. And I'd like you to bless all of the water that you'll ever drink. So just take a moment to just add your light and your love to all of the water that you're made of and all of the water that you'll drink in your lifetime. And just take a moment and breathe into that and out. And I'd like you to just also bless all of the food that you'll ever eat in your lifetime. And just take a breath in for that and out. And just remember the beauty of your soul and that you have free will with your soul. And just take a breath in with that and out. And most importantly, just give your love to Creator, Source, Universe, Consciousness with divine love. And just take a breath in for that and out. And that's beautiful. Thank you so much.
Mm. Thank you so much for being with us here today, Reverend Paul. I'm so honored on this day of 111, this wonderful Trinity, and just that energy of the oneness, uniting back with this oneness. So it's just magnificent. My heart,
Thank you.
the core of my heart thanks you and embraces you and sees you and celebrates you in that dazzling flame of light that is the beholder, as well as our beautiful audience for joining us today, to just being in that receptive mode and receiving and allowing that magnificence to also come online for them. And with that, this show would not be a show without the audience. We'd love to hear from you. If what we shared served you, helped you, nourished you, tickled you, however way, please make a comment, let us know. Also, we share it. This will be available in just a minute. That Ascension walk is truly about sharing, truly allowing the heart to share with all its love and giving it all out. And we look forward to that so that others too can benefit. It's always about, as you lift it, move it, pass it on forward, let others also benefit. And that's how we weave these hearts together even greater. So much love, everyone. Thank you, Reverend Paul. Happy birthday to you again. And so much love to all of you. And we'll see you all next week, Wednesday, with my beautiful sacred brother, Michael Matucci.